Alright, y'all. It's your boy Circuit Framwell, and we're back to talk about RollerCoaster Tycoon Classic Nintendo Switch Controls Explained. And this is part 3 of the series. Alright, we're actually going to be talking about placement, road construction, and Terraform controls. Now, you might be wondering, why the roller coaster backdrop? Well, that's actually a plug for my next video, which drops next week, so definitely keep that on the map. Let's get started. The first control is A for build. Press down the A button. Rotate is the next control, which is either going to be left or right on the D-pad. Adjust height is going to be up or down on the D-pad. And match height, which is going to be ZL, which is going to be on the bottom back of the controller. You can hold down that ZL button, and then while you're holding it down, you use the left joystick and rotate it to match height. Alright, y'all, so I just wanted to take the time to make a quick clarification on what the placement menu even is. I was just about to dive into the control and I was like, yeah, you know what, this kind of smells a little bit when I was looking at what it was named. So if I go to controls here, so it's just called placement, nothing too specific, pretty generic. And so I do think that this sort of brings up a bit of an experience issue just because we're not really sure where to apply the controls. We just know that it's placement. I do think just adding a little bit of text there, maybe placement ride controls, or let's see, what is the menu name actually called? So let's actually just go look at the menu name and let's get a proper name. So if I press Y and I go down to this menu here, this is called the Build New Ride Attraction. All right. So what I can tell you is, just from all the testing I've done, is if I go into shops and stalls, any of these are, when you're in this mode here, is considered placement. All right. And if I go back up here to this menu, let's say I go to like a roller coaster, this is also considered placement. Okay. Same thing too with like a pre-built roller coaster. So not even just the single drops here. Like if I do like a big roller coaster here, looping roller coaster, let's go ahead and select like our Value Bomb 4. It's one of our favorite ones. I'm going to zoom out. All right. So this would also be considered a placement. You see this green thing light up? So when you're placing a ride, you're placing a stall, a shop, or even just like a single one-off roller coaster, like ride or attraction, like a haunted house. That's what this is talking about. All right, so I just want to take the time to sort of further the point of why the generic name of placement isn't the greatest. So like, let's say I'm on a fry shop here and I'm trying to build a fry shop. All right. And I were to take the time to just drag my cursor up over the top of this menu here, and let's actually use the tooltip controls just to get some sort of hint that maybe we're in placement mode. All right, so we've got back to previous menu, window title, drag this to move window, close window, rotate 90, raise initial build height, lower initial build height, and then if we go over the center button, no additional tooltip. So it's not super clear, and let's just go back here. Let's go back to previous menu. All right, and when I do hover over this shop here, I'm not actually getting a tooltip that says anything about placement either, right? It just says fry shop, a hut for selling fries. So let me just try again. So I'm gonna hover over this to get us in tooltip mode, and then go down. Let's see if we get a tooltip. So there's no tooltip. Yeah, nothing talks about placement. So it's just, again, it's not super clear. All right, so anyway, back to placement. First, with your building selected, we're going to demo rotate and build at the same time because I feel like they just go hand in hand. Very rarely do you ever just, open up the building and then just face in the right direction. Sometimes it happens, but not usually. So let's go ahead and demonstrate rotate. Rotate. That's going to be left here. You can just keep pressing left and it'll keep going around in 360 degrees, or you could just keep pressing right, or you could toggle between the two. Sort of another unknown control is you can press up like this to increase the height and put it onto some stilts. And look at that, it goes pretty high. Let's actually count the squares again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 8. Goes up 8 squares. I think that's pretty cool. Looks like a total, I got the tooltip on, looks like a total of 55 feet you can build that thing. So this is really useful, especially if you're trying to build something like some kind of like oasis, or maybe you're just trying to fit this into a tough spot of your park. Or you even want to put this on stilts in the water. Lots of cool options. You can get really creative. Now, match height, kind of a tough one. I've honestly had trouble using it. It doesn't always seem to work as intended, but I'm going to do my best to demonstrate it. So let's get out of this menu. Let's go back and start the game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to use the placement match height tool. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down ZL. And then while that, I'm going to go ahead and move left here. Now, if I get over this land here, what's kind of interesting is like, you can kind of see it goes into like this grid mode. So I'm going to actually let go of ZL and do that. And actually the behavior is different. It just jumps up to the top. It's almost more ideal. But I'm actually going to hold down ZL here. All right, and we're just going to keep trying for it. So it's doing that. So then what is match height? So then, you know, do we just press up now? And it's just automatically at the right height. So up. Let's see, where did it go? Let's just hit build. No, that's so interesting. Like, I'm not really sure what it does. So if I want to build it right here, and then ZL, and then L to match height. It's just not working. So I've been doing all sorts of combination drags here, and really I just usually end up just using the height tool and just adjusting height and just kind of doing that. But let's try this one more time, all right? I feel like I really want to give this a fair chance. So I'm going to go to like some kind of fry hut. Let's go to cotton candy this time. All right. And I'm going to come over here to the side here. I'm going to press ZL. No height is being matched. I'm going to press ZL. Let me come in front of this fry stand here. ZL. Now it seems to put it underground. I'm going to come over here to this one. All right, I'm going to move the camera. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get it to here, face the podium, or face the walkway. ZL. ZL. That kind of did something. It like hopped it up there. And now what if I press build while holding ZL? It like built it in the sky? So that's a possibility if you want to do like some kind of sky building, I guess. Let me just turn the camera off here because let's get a good look at this. So if you want to build like a cotton candy in the sky, this is an option with this control. I suppose just discovered this one. So last thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to try to get this last control to work for us. So it's the match height control. I couldn't get it to work with like a fry shop, but maybe I can get it to work with a roller coaster. All right, how about this bobsled one? All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and hold down the ZL button, all right? And it's supposed to apparently try to like match the height. But I feel like by default, the roller coaster sort of does that itself. So I feel like just by like kind of hovering, it's like sort of matching the height. All right, and I did just see it kind of adjust there a little bit. ZL, kind of adjust a little bit. Maybe like where my cursor is over. So like, I don't know. This might, I've seen the most wiggle. There it kind of did something. Hold on. I'm not really sure what it's doing. I think the control might be broken. I don't think it quite works. A pretty quick, cool note here. There's a missed control. So we go down here to mirror image. I don't see this as any of the controls in the system. So I wonder if one day maybe they'll release a patch where we get a mirror image. I don't know how valuable it would be to have as a control, but it is interesting. It doesn't seem every single control in this game has been implemented, but it does seem like a lot of them have been. All right, we're just going to do a quick introduction to the Footpath Construction controls. Build section, A. Bulldoze previous section, B. All right, adjust slope is going to be up or down on the D-pad. Adjust heading, left and right on the D-pad. Cycle path type, you're going to hold down the ZL button, and then while holding that down, you're going to then press left or right on the D-pad. Same thing for cycle path style. We're going to hold down the ZL control, and then we're going to cycle path style with up or down on the D-pad. Select new location. You're going to hold down that A button and then rotate this left joystick. And it's also worth noting these controls are only going to be valid when you're in the Footpath Construction menu. All right, so this is a better spot over here. It's a little bit more quiet. So let's get into the footpath menu. I'm going to press R2, and then I'm going to use L. I'm going to drag us over here to the right-hand side. It's out of the way of my camera. And you're going to see that this footpath menu has two tabs, right? So we start out here in this first tab, which is the construct footpath on land, all right? And if I press right on the snap pad, it's going to bring us over to the second tab, which is construct bridge or tunnel footpath, all right? And that's when you're going to press A. And this is now the footpath construction menu, this menu system. All right, so I'm going to go here to this construct bridge or tunnel footpath. And let's just start invoking some of these controls here. So I'm going to hold down on A here. It's going to allow me to choose a different road. I'm going to go ahead and choose, I like the black road, it's nice. I'm going to drag off the menu here. And now, if I were to press A, we're going to invoke the first control, the build section. After we press A to do build section, now we're sort of like locked into this grid, all right? And so now I can change direction if I just want to press like left, right, up, down. Now if you see that when I press up, it changed the slope. That's the adjust slope. You press down on the D-pad, changes the slope. If I press left, it changes the heading, which apparently is the direction. Might be a better name for that control, adjust direction, but I see what they were going for. Just a moment ago, I had pressed the A button. Now the interesting thing is it's almost to sort of like engage the build, even though the control is called build section. So now I have to press it again to actually build the section. But the first time was actually engaging. But this is essentially now a perfect time to demonstrate the next control here, which is going to be bulldoze previous section. So we're going to press B, and then we're going to press B again. All right. And it looks like when you're out of road and you press B, it just goes for the menu close. Let's talk about the cycle path type and cycle path style. So I'm going to hold down ZL, which is this back, left, bottom button. And then I can press either left or right on the D-pad. So I'm going to press left. And you can see I'm going to press right. Now if I press right again. So you can honestly just keep pressing right or press right, left, whatever you prefer. It's kind of nice, it'll cycle through there. But now let's try path style. So still holding ZL and the back left there, bottom. I'm going to press up or down. So you see that? I'm not sure if you see the style changing there now to this like wooden bridge, and now to like a dirt bridge, now to like a red carpet. So you can see all sorts of stuff as you cycle through there. There's different options. All right, y'all, so we're going to review here the select new location. We're all set up for it here. Now, what I'm going to do, instead of continuing to build here, let's say I'm done, I could actually hold down A. And now I've sort of taken the focus of the building tool and I can place it somewhere else. So now I can place it here and I can let go of A. All right, and now build something here. And let's hold A again. And let's put the focus here and then press A again to build. So you see we're holding A, navigating with the left stick, letting go, pressing A again to build. All right. All right, so select new location. Hopefully all of this makes sense. Let's go ahead and clean up a little bit. Bulldoze previous section. Let's do some testing here. So remember, we've built several sections of road. Let's see if it just kind of toggles to each section or if it only goes back to the previous one I just built. So I'm going to do B. Okay, B again. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that took me back for a second. So I think it's very clear that threw me out of the experience. And that was sort of interesting. That's not the behavior I expected. So I'm actually going to press Y. I'm going to go over here to this footpath. We're going to drag this menu over here. Okay. Let's do that again. All right. And actually, even more frustrating. Hold on before I start. It even toggled off my setting. Did you see that? So I had, if I press minus here, and I say hide scenery, I would expect this to be respected. So I'm going to press minus. Okay, the game starts. That's beautiful. But all right, let's demo this again. Let's build something. Build. Now we're going to use the bulldoze, right? Bulldoze previous section. Goes back. Now let's try to bulldoze again. You think it would try to go to an adjacent section of road, and it would automatically select that adjacent section of road. But it doesn't. It actually just closes out the menu and also toggles off the scenery. So it's just very jarring. Definitely some oddness going on in there. I could definitely have a few theories. And let's actually reproduce that. Go ahead and just pick a random direction to sort of engage the build, right? Now, nothing has actually been built yet. I think I made that clear earlier. So now watch, I'm not over the top of the menu. If I press B, it closes the menu. This is sort of actually inconsistent behavior, so I'm just going to take a moment just to call it out. We're going to go ahead and open up like this menu here. Now I'm going to be over here and press B. The menu closed. I'm going to go over here, get off the menu, press B, close. What happened there? Why isn't the handyman menu closing? So let's do it again. X. And now let's open this one and let's drag off the menu. B. Why isn't it closing? Press X again. Let's open up this menu. B. Not closing. So it seems that these park and build menus are just made to function differently. So if I open this and I come over here and I press B off the side, it's going to automatically remember that that menu is open and it's going to close it. It only happens though with this bottom set of menus. So it's just another inconsistency I wanted to point out while I was here. All right, y'all, so let's just go ahead and summarize everything we've learned so far. All right, so this is the Footpath Construction menu. All right, both of these tabs. Now the interesting thing is this first tab is just a subset of the Footpath Construction controls. All right, so that means we can go to this road and we can like build sections. So we get the A button, and we can also cycle through the path type by holding ZL, which is the bottom back left control, and we can press left or right on the D-pad. This will let us cycle through types. But now if we want to cycle through styles, we just press up or down on the D-pad still while holding that back left ZL. All right. And so we do get to leverage these Footpath Construction controls with this first tab. And then oddly enough, we don't actually get a bulldoze hotkey here, but what we actually do is we can leverage bulldoze preview from the park menu, which is sort of interesting. So this doesn't actually go away. We can still get this park control, but while we're inside this Footpath Construction menu, if you wanted to use bulldoze as a button of B, you'd actually have to do this. So I'll just demonstrate first. It doesn't work right now. So if I'm over this path and I hit B, it's just going to close the menu. All right. So let's go back. Let's reopen this menu here. All right. And now let's go ahead and go into the Footpath Construction menu. And let's just pretend like we're just going to build like right over this road. Well, now when I press B, we do get to leverage that bulldoze button. All right. The hack would be if you wanted to operate in this menu, you could still use bulldoze preview. So that is sort of a way around that. All right. And there's going to be 3 sets of these Terraform controls. There's the Terraform clear. There's the Terraform land. And then, of course, there's the Terraform water. And you can see they're pretty similar, right? Adjust height, A with L, up and down, adjust area. Same thing here, adjust height, adjust area, up and down. Same thing here. Well, not same thing, slightly different. Bulldoze scenery and then adjust area size. But basically, yeah, we're just going to be demoing them sort of all intermingled. Bulldoze scenery, that's going to be the A button. All right, and then adjust area size. It's going to be up and down. All right, we're going to go right to the next control here. This is going to be for Terraform land. Looks like you press the A button and then it's up and down. It doesn't really say to hold A, so we'll definitely get into that detail when we're actually demoing the control. Adjust area size, up and down. Looks like, again, on the D-pad. And then let's see, Terraform water. It looks like it has adjust height, A, with the left joystick. We'll confirm the details soon. And then adjust height is going to be up and down on the D-pad. So I'm going to go ahead and start by pressing Y. I'm going to go down to the build menu, left on the D-pad. We're going to hit A on this create adjust lakes and water. That's going to open up basically all of our Terraform controls. And we're going to see that they're differentiated here by the tabs. So the first tab is going to be the land. The second tab is going to be the water, and the third tab is actually going to be the clear. Okay, and we can see really clearly right off the bat, no pun intended, that this menu clearly does not have a lot to demo, right? And that actually jives right with the controls that we see that are available to us. In fact, if I go left here on water, we see the same thing. If we compare it to the controls that are in the menu system, we're going to see a pretty close match, if not an exact match. Let's go left here. All right, and now going back to the first tab, adjust land. So we can see in adjust land here that we've got quite a bit more controls, right? There's quite a bit more buttons on the screen. So what I'm going to do is just start by demoing the controls that are actually not in the hot controls menu. And that will just show you what's visible here and just how to use them. And then I'm just going to go through and show what each of these tiles are, give a couple gripes, and then we're going to actually get into the full control demo. So these two controls were not implemented. And how you use them is how you use most of the other menus that have a similar button like this. You hold down the A, and then you can use your D-pad to go through and select the options. And when you're done, you just let go of A, and there you go. This next button up top, same thing. All you got to do is hold down the A button, and then use your D-pad to go and select a different style here. And that's pretty much it. I think these controls would have been pretty easy to implement. I think they basically remind me of Footpath Construction. So if you remember cycle path type and cycle path style, definitely feels the same. I think we definitely could have had a ZL where we just hold that down and then we can just use our D-pad. So these are just some controls in the game that haven't been implemented. In addition, if I go over here to the right on my D-pad and I hover over here, we're gonna see a tooltip that says select corner of land. And these have not been implemented, as I've said, so you can't really do any sort of hotkey. I do think doing some sort of like ZL hold or L or R hold while pressing a button and a D, or even just possibly a D-pad, because it does look very directional. Do see it definitely being possible, but for whatever reason, the control wasn't implemented. So if you do want to do this, there's two ways I know how to do it. You might have already noticed this if you've been paying attention to how I move around the tiles. So I'm actually going to start out by just using the L joystick to demo this first. So if I just press forward here, okay, you can see all of a sudden now it just slowly shifted to that corner. And if I press just a little bit to the left and go to the bottom left, it's not going to go to that corner. Same thing with this one. If I go hold the joystick and go down to this corner here, we're going to get the same behavior, okay? And what that's going to do is just going to raise it on the one side. So you can't just press A, but if you hold down A and you press up on the left stick. All right, let's try that again. So I'm going to hold A, and I'm going to press up on the left stick, and we're going to see just that side raise, all right? And if I press down, same behavior. Still holding A, pressing up and down on the left stick. Now, what does this all mean if we want to do it manually? Well, unfortunately, what we'd have to do is we'd have to drag our cursor all the way up here. Then we'd have to click right here to change the position. And now when we come out here, watch what happens. It actually just adjusts it anyway. So remember earlier how I said I know a couple ways? I lied. There's really only one way, because it doesn't actually respect the position when you drag it out, unfortunately. If I actually go over to the clear tab, which is 2 right presses over, and press A, we're going to actually see this select location text. So I think this is kind of fascinating. I know that when we get into placement, this is actually commonly associated with placement. So it's kind of interesting that it's associated here in this menu. And I do know here, if I hold down B, we still get bulldoze preview, which is sort of interesting. So if we really wanted to utilize bulldoze preview, we totally could. So this is actually a really nice opportunity to show the controls contrast. So if I go ahead and I hold down the B button, we're going to get that bulldoze icon that shows up, and that means we're in the bulldoze preview. And if I were to let go, I could just delete this tree here. Your cursor has to be over the tree. There we go. All right. Now, what the heck is the advantage of actually having this clear menu then? Well, there's actually a pretty big advantage. So if I were to press up on this D-pad, you're going to see this area start to grow. And also, too, if I were to hover over some more trees here, we're going to see it actually start to include a lot more trees in the selection. And so you can just imagine if you wanted to clear forest really quickly, all you have to do is just press A. And in fact, if I wanted to zoom out, let's go ahead and zoom out. And I'm going to actually just hold down, or not hold down, I'm just going to just, I'm going to hold down A and then just drag it over the land here. We're going to see that it just continues to delete. So I definitely think this control does have value. More than bulldoze preview if you're doing a mass clear, but if you're doing a really small clear, bulldoze preview is all you need. Let's just go ahead and knock out the water next. So Terraform water here, we've got a couple controls here. We've got adjust height and adjust area size, all right? If I go ahead and hover over this menu to get a tooltip, adjust larger area of water, we're gonna see that that's actually equivalent to pressing up on the D-pad. So I'm just gonna demo that by going off of the menu and then pressing up on the D-pad. And we see the larger area size growing. We see the blue outline down by the Caucasian fir tree. That's what they're called. And then if I go up here to this menu here, we're going to see this line of squares here. It definitely represents what we're seeing down here. So you can watch that up there in that menu to get a nice small representation of what you're actually seeing on the screen. So adjust height's kind of interesting. It's kind of misleading in its name. So, and what I mean by that is you're not just adjusting height, you're actually going to be spending money. If I press just A by itself, okay, nothing's actually going to happen. But if I hold down A, it doesn't really give that instruction in the control, but you can see it does sort of change to like this up and down arrow, right? If I then press up on this joystick, we're gonna actually see it grow here. It's gonna actually adjust the height, but the interesting thing is it's actually building and spending money. So let's just be clear about that. And when I press down, it actually costs me more money. So you don't get your money back. You spend it, and then you also spend it again to remove it. So I just want to make that clear. That is sort of an experience thing that took me a minute to catch on. The nice thing is it does respect the existing slope. So as you can see, it's sort of adding into the missing spaces. You can sort of think about it like that. It's going to fill in all the gaps to basically make it a level square until it finally is a level square. And then it's just going to continue to build up from there. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully adding a little bit of clarity there does help. I do think it is fair to point out here that they probably should add hold to this control or something like that to sort of indicate, because people are going to be pressing A and nothing's going to happen. We do see in other parts of the control system, they use the text hold to sort of describe that the button needs to be hold. Just for pure consistency, I do think that will help alleviate any sort of confusion with this control for other people trying to use it. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get into land. Adjust smaller area of land and then adjust larger. So I can already tell you, adjust larger and adjust smaller, that basically is the adjust area size. I'm not sure why they didn't just reuse that naming, but that's what that is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and press up on the D-pad and down on the D-pad, and that's gonna be that adjust area size, all right? Now, adjust height is very similar to water. Again, if I just press A, it actually doesn't do anything. So if I just press A and then move L, that doesn't do anything. You actually have to hold down A, and then you can press up. And what you're going to see is it's going to start to kind of fill in all of the areas here of the land until it becomes a unified square. And you can go down, and then it's going to remove. Now, I'm not sure if anyone else noticed, but this does not quite function the same way as the water control. So the water sort of gracefully just like removed itself as it was like draping over the land. So if I actually continue to, hold A and press down here, we're actually just going to continue to dig that square hole all the way back down. It doesn't actually remember the concaves that it came from, essentially. So that is nice thing about the water tool is it does sort of respect those concaves as you're going back down. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my camera off for a moment here. And I'm just going to show you some, basically, I guess you could call it some experimental stuff that I've just been trying to work with to see what works with what. So you can see an experiment I did here. I wanted to sort of prove that, you can just build directly to one of these food huts here and put, basically a food hut or a drink hut or a bathroom, whatever, some type of shop or stall, and basically just build a path directly to it. So I proved that you don't actually need any land. You can just build a path directly to it. Another thing I wanted to prove is, could you actually build on top of structures? If I open up place, scenery, gardens, and other accessories, if we go down to walls and roofs, this is a support structure. And if we go left on the D-pad, we're going to see that this is also considered a support structure, wall, etc. So you get some nice descriptions as you're sort of scrolling through here. Steel, latest work. But anyway, structures. So I was definitely curious, man, can I build on top of a structure? So that's sort of what I was trying to prove out here. And I definitely did prove it to a degree. So I did prove that you can actually build roadways on top of structures, but I wasn't actually able to prove that you can build shops or stalls. So let me just prove that now. I'm just going to bring out a shop or stall. Okay. And let's just try to build a burger joint up here. It's not going to let you. But here, let me go ahead and rotate our placement tools and just go up as high as I can, right? That's about as high as it can go just using the placement tool. And if I try to even use match height's not going to help us out here either. So you can kind of see we're sort of stuck here. We're not actually able to build up there, unfortunately. It looks like match height might actually be trying to do its job right there. Yeah, I think I actually just got the match height control to work. So for some reason, against structures, apparently it works pretty well. And obviously, I guess I can also build inside of there. Let me see what this does. Oh my God. Okay, this is a game changer. So I actually didn't know that this was even possible, and this is actually kind of cool. So my guess is if I built a road to it, it would definitely be a viable shop for people to eat at. So I guess this is one possibility. Definitely a neat way to use structures, and one that I sort of just uncovered with you all right now in real time. All right, y'all. Well, that's pretty much it for the experimental stuff. You know how I like to do it. I like to do stuff in real time. I like to do a bunch of experiments and see what we can figure out, see what we understand, see what we don't understand. Definitely fun to do this kind of stuff. So I highly recommend, just as a pro tip, go in the game, start a level, get a little bit of income going, and then do some experiments. Just treat that save as an experimental save. Try some fun things. Try to experiment. Try to shove things in places where you don't think it's going to work. Try to build things on top of things you don't think are going to work, and just see what happens. I do think it's a lot of fun, and I do think that, honestly, just my personal philosophy, definitely something that's missing from gaming